This is hard for me to talk about, especially because recently this caused a lot of problems at school and with several people I used to call my friends. I will try to be honest, but there's still things I'm not ready to explain in detail, so I'm sorry about it. It all started with the person I considered my best friend. He made fun of me whenever he called. He made jokes about how I look, how I act, and hobbies and anything he could. And during that time, I just I just stayed quiet, and I tried to make it less painful by laughing first, so that won't hurt me anymore. Cause I was thinking that maybe if I'm the one, laughing and making the joke or no taking the joke, it will be easier to accept and probably it will hurt less. But that wasn't working because every time he made a joke about me, it really hurt. It made my heart sunk, and every time he said things about me like that, I just wanted to disappear in the moment. What I didn't know at first was that he wasn't just doing it into my face. In fact, he was doing it behind my back too. He talked to many people of my school and other friends about me. He made jokes about me with them. He told many personal stuff about me with them. He said anything, anything he could, and you know, I was forgiving him every time he did it. I know I'm gonna sound like a dumb person for forgiving him, but I need to remember to you that I don't really have too much friends. I have problems with talking to people, and especially after this is where most of my problems are coming. There is something important about this. Uh, I try to keep it simple because I can't really talk about it in detail. So, because of these jokes and my personal problems, that some of them I talked about them in my last video, so you could have an idea about what I'm talking about. I had a really dark moment in my life, a moment where I didn't want to be here anymore. Why? Because I felt like if even if my friends didn't care about me and they were doing this, then nothing made sense. The pain mixed with everything else I, I suffered, it made me just collapse that day. And I barely remember what happened. And most of the things I remember are really painful and things I don't really want to talk about. So, in short, I ended up in the hospital. The recovery was slow and painful, but I pretend that I was okay because while I was in that situation, one of them came to my home and he called the ambulance. He helped my mom to take me to the hospital with the ambulance. He made many things, to help at that moment. And in that moment, I was thinking, so he cares, they care about me and probably they are going to be here for me. But while I was in the hospital, they just start to make cruel jokes about me, including one about me and my stepsister. She's like my, she's just like my sister. Even if we don't share the blood or anything the people could say. She's like my real sister, and she's in another country, and we have many problems to talk with each other and all of that. So it really hurted me that in my lowest, and coming from friends, it really hurt me in that moment, and it made me realize that even at my worst, they will stop making jokes about me. To my face, they helped me, and they played with me, they assisted me, and they told me they cared that I should do it again, you know, that I'm like their brother and all of that shit. But they lied to me. And in that moment, I really believed in them. With my family in that situation, they suddenly start to worry about me. And I keep thinking, I was thinking that I had to reach this point to people to finally notice that the times that I was saying I don't feel okay, I'm not okay, I can continue like this. I had to make that dumb decision to people to finally notice. And my friends, the same ones who proudly said that they saved my life, they couldn't stop making jokes about me. Not even while I was in the hospital. That's when I realized something that it's hurting so much right now. Sometimes people will never change, even if you are at your lowest and you can't just defend yourself. Because at that moment I wasn't even able to walk properly and even talk to the people was painful. I realized who they were in reality, and I feel empty. Sometimes I feel like nothing else matters. But I learned something about this, something that I feel like is going to follow me for my world life. But I think it's also a good teaching about life. It is that even if I'm alone right now, I feel like I'm better that, you know, being surrounded by them, by people who will hurt me even if they know I'm in a bad situation. I don't really know how to finish the video, but if I'm honest, this topic is really, really difficult, and I don't know what to say. I try to keep it, simple and don't get into detail, but I feel like it's empty and probably it's difficult to understand. But I tried. I'm trying to do this kind of videos and try to open myself, especially because I don't wanna be alone now. And I don't wanna keep acting like this, being unable to talk to people, being unable to stay in a room full of people without feeling anxious and wanting to leave. Because of this, right now I have several problems with how I look and how I feel about the people around me. I want to make a video about the things about, my appearance, how I look, and how the jokes and things that happened during my life did affect me in that specific point. I'm sorry if I get emotional or if I'm talking weird or anything. It's just that I'm feeling really bad right now. And if I'm making this video, it's just because I don't want to feel alone. Talking to a mic might help. Cause right now, even before recording the video, I feel anxious. You know, this kind of jokes about how the people talk, how the people look, they really changed your personality and they really hard. I'm gonna be honest, if you do that kind of jokes to your friends, you are doing really bad as a friend. Because this kind of words coming from a special person, from a close friend, they hurt. And I hope one day I'm finally going to be able to stop thinking about this. I know it's going to be with me forever, but at least I want to learn how to live with it and not feeling this bad. I don't really have nothing else to say.